Hi, welcome to Weekend Review, where we take a look at some of the news and the headlines and talk about some of the stories we have coming up later this week. We have a new visitor today. We have our breaking news editor, Kim Burke. We haven't had her in for a while. From sports, Darnell Mayberry again, and my old compadre, Don McCoy, is back after a slight absence from the airwaves. Let's start with the tragic story out of Tulsa. Police shooting this week, echoing a storyline we've seen far too often across the country this year. We have Matt Dinger go out and go through a simulator to see sort of what it is that police confront when they go through that. Kim, tell us a little bit about that story and what Matt found.
Matt was invited by the Midwest City Police Department to come and actually go through some scenarios on this simulator. The police department was able to buy the simulator with a grant from the hospital authority. And so it has 150 scenarios of when officers need to make split-second decisions, and he went through 3 or 4 of them. It was a little more emotional than he thought it would be. He felt that he did well on 3 of the 4. One of them that he felt he didn't make the decision. He found himself feeling kind of bad about it because lives would have been lost because of the decision he made in that training. So after going through that, he came back to the office and he said, this story will be my viewpoint, having been through this training. But he said, I feel like I really want to talk to some officers who really have had to make that decision and had to take someone's life. So he called back to the Midwest City police chief and asked if some of the officers would talk to him, and 3 of them were willing to talk to him, and it's been several years, in one case 25 years, since they had to take a life in the line of duty, and they still remembered it like it was yesterday. They played it out in their head over and over. One of the captains became emotional, had got tears in his eyes just remembering this from many years ago. So it's really gripping reading. He wrote this story in kind of a different way, where the story is almost all just their quotes, just their voices, very few transitional sentences from Matt himself. He just let them talk, and it's really a pretty poignant reading to hear them talk about what they went through.
I talked with Matt the other day a little bit about it, and he mentioned that the scenario that you were talking about that didn't go well, and he said it was a situation, it was sort of a hostage type scenario or whatever, and that the scenario ends essentially with him hearing the gun pops going off. And he was telling me that it was like 3 nights later that he was laying in bed right before falling asleep, and he was sitting there thinking about that, and he's thinking, man, if this is just a scenario and this is 3 days later and I'm still thinking about what I did and didn't do in that moment, sort of what police officers go through in the same thing. I mean, of course, we'll wait and see what the evidence is in these cases, of course, as we do, but it is a split-second decision, oftentimes in a panicky moment, and it comes back to training, and are these people given, the kinds of the kinds of exposure to these kinds of scenarios that it, would prevent this kind of thing in the future. So it's a sad story. We see it keep playing out. We've talked about it, I don't know how many times around this table, about these police shootings. So it's a tragedy, and I think this story will help at least shine a light on how difficult those instances are for everyone involved. So great story. We look forward to reading that one. Let's move on to something lighter. It's the start of Thunder season, right? It's the best time of the year for you guys. And we have a new Thunder writer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Talk a little bit. Media Day this week. Tell us what's going on with our coverage.
Yeah, Media Day starts Friday, today. We're going to start, our new Thunder beat writer is Brett Dawson. So we've done a couple of things with him to let people know who he is, where he came from, and how he got here. He was covering the New Orleans Pelicans for the New Orleans Advocate. He took that job from working in Louisville. He was covering University of Kentucky basketball. And so he's really a good reporter, a hard worker. We're excited to have him. But like I said, Media Day starts Friday, and that's the official opening of the season with Thunder Media Day, and then practices start Saturday. They're going to go overseas for 2 games. and played 2 exhibition games over there before coming over here for the preseason. So it's underway here. I mean, football season is still, we're in the thick of that, and a lot of the attention is going to still be on football season, of course, but with Thunder training camp now here, that's sort of what we're gearing up for.
How far away is the regular season from now?
October 26th is the first day, so I think they open at Philadelphia.
Don, do you want to make any predictions about this year?
I do not.
Are you like Barry Trammell and you're out of the prediction business after Kevin Durant left?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just I'm hopeful that we're going to have a very good season.
What is the prediction? How are they supposed to fare this year?
I believe the odds out in Vegas, all the betting lines, I think they have them at 45.5 wins, somewhere around there. That's sort of the over-under that they've set. And I think that's probably accurate. That's about right. They still got
normally we've averaged
well,
about
they've been a 50, 55, almost 60 win team for years now. But I mean, they've still got an incredible roster led by Russell Westbrook, of course. They've got some nice young talent that's come in here. Not a lot of people know these players' names yet. Victor Oladipo, Ersan Ilyasova. You've got Joffrey Lavernier that they traded for with the Denver Nuggets. And, of course, Steven Adams, Enes Kanter, Andre Robertson, those guys. So they've got a lot of young talent here still and guys who are committed to working hard and competing night in and night out. And I think you're going to see a different version of the Thunder this year. It's not going to be maybe as much offensive-oriented as it was when you had Kevin Durant and Serge Ibaka and Russell Westbrook. Now I think they're going to have to rely on defense a little bit more. But Russell Westbrook could be an MVP candidate, so it's still going to be exciting.
So is San Antonio still in the, even losing Tim Duncan, are they still the team that we need to get past?
They lost Tim Duncan, but they gained Pau Gasol. So, I mean, that guy was probably a 5-6-time All-Star, just one of the best. He's no Tim Duncan, but he's still one of the best big men to ever play the game offensively. So San Antonio's still going to be right there in the thick of it. They probably will be the number 2 seed right behind Golden State.
Okay, great. A lot of stuff coming up. I know it's an exciting time of year. The OU fans are probably a little despondent at this point. So are you looking ahead yet, Don, or are we still?
You mean to wrestling season?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So good news on the retail front. An iconic grocery store opens its doors, right?
Right, today. Trader Joe's is opening in Nichols Hills Plaza. And based on the comments that we have gotten over the past several years, whenever Breonna Bailey does one of her retail chats online, people, when are we going to get Trader Joe's? When are we going to get Trader Joe's? And we get it today. And it's a unique store. They have a lot of their own brands. They have a lot of stuff that people you can't get anywhere else. And so it's a different kind of experience. It's a different kind of merchandise. And people have really wanted something like that, and now they've got it. And I think they'll probably be crazy busy today. In fact, I probably wouldn't go today, but because it's not a real big store, but it's a unique business. It's owned by the same company that owns Aldi, which is also a unique kind of a store with lots of brands that you can't find anywhere else. So
it's a German firm, isn't it? Aldi.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And so Trader Joe's is really got their employees dress up in Hawaiian shirts.
It's the home of $3 Chuck too, isn't it?
That's right.
$2 Chuck.
Is it $2 Chuck?
Get
Okay,
that right,
I'm sorry. I came from Missouri. Might have been a little higher price there. I don't know.
But keep in mind that grocery stores can't sell wine yet.
Okay, I will.
Maybe after the state question in November, they might be able to. But I think that's part of their expectation. I think that's part of the reason they've decided to build here. They already had a store in Tulsa that just recently opened. So Trader Joe's comes to Oklahoma, and a lot of people are happy about that.
And we also have some news on the convention front. We've got some new designs or new looks at the proposed convention center.
Yeah, we've got a much better idea of what the final version of the convention center is going to look like. It's interesting, lots of glass, lots of great views of what will be the park down there, great views of downtown. It's cantilevered, it's futuristic looking. It's huge. It's 500,000 square feet. It's going to cost about $288 million, and that's MAPS money that we've already set aside or will be set aside to pay for that. This is kind of the next step in MAPS as we sort of move south. This is just directly south of Chesapeake Arena. You're going to have the park down there. You're going to have the convention center down there. streetcar will be running through there. There's going to be a lot of activity down there in the next few years.
And the front door will be oriented to the south, right? Towards the new park, essentially?
Well,
or not?
you know,
or is it
I
on
don't
the
know if
corner? Or
it's going to sit. Now, think of it this way: Chesapeake Arena, everybody knows where that is. Directly south will be this convention center. In between there will be the new boulevard.
Okay.
Okay, so that's kind of where a lot of the street activity is going to be. I think is along that boulevard, but it's also going to be directly adjacent on the side. Down Robinson Street, you're going to have across the street the park, the new park, which has not been built yet. So I think you're going to have a lot of street activity along the boulevard, along Robinson, and of course when there's basketball or something else going on in the arena, and if you've got a convention going on in the convention center, there's going to be a lot of activity down there.
Yeah, and if you're ever down here, you can see the property being assembled. It looks like a minefield over in that area of downtown.
And they're knocking down a lot of old buildings in that area that have been abandoned, but have been here for many, many decades, and a lot of those are coming down to make room for this.
Anything big coming up in the business section this Sunday?
Well, we're going to learn a little bit more. Our Steve Lackmeyer, who's been all over maps for a couple of decades himself, is going to give us some real insight into what the convention hotel might be. And I think most importantly, one thing that the eye candy is we're going to see what it's going to look like, perhaps. I mean, the preliminary look at what it's going to look like. And most importantly, I think, is we're going to get an idea how much this is going to cost.
What
because
the subsidy will be.
the convention hotels require a subsidy from the city. And they've got proposals with varying levels of subsidies. The one I think they're most interested in is the one that's going to cost the least. And he's going to talk about that number. He's going to talk about where that money might come from. So that'll be a really interesting story that's really tied into all that stuff I was just talking about.
Great, great. Sounds good, like good stuff. Can't wait to see it. Guys, thanks for joining us again. This is the kind of stuff that you can get on newsok.com, that you can pick up in our paper every day. Subscribe, check us out online. I think you'll enjoy what you find. We'll see you again next week. Thanks.